My name's Garrett. I have been a Sounders fan since about 2010. Currently living in Issaquah. Like to get back into Seattle as soon as I can, but Issaquah's a good place. Gosh, how I became a Sounders fan. It's kind of a story, and I could just launch into it, I suppose. All right, so I became a Sounders fan because of this guy named Wyatt Goldsmith. And Wyatt was a Green Beret medic. And he was one of the most generous, kind people that I've ever known. And I'm talking about him this way, and if you're watching this video, you could probably already guess that it's because he was killed in Afghanistan about 2011. But so Wyatt was a Green Beret medic, and Wyatt was a badass. And he was one of those guys, we were never super close, but he was a friend of a friend, and he would bring me out, he'd invite me out to go out drinking and hanging out with everybody else. And Wyatt was incredibly generous, and whenever he came back on leave, the one thing that he wanted out of his time back in Seattle was to bring all of his friends to any kind of Seattle sports game so that they could hang out and enjoy that game with him. And Wyatt, at the time, I was a fresh UW grad, and I was completely broke. Sometimes I would be able to eat. It was bad. And Wyatt called me up one day and said, "Hey man, I got tickets to the US Open Cup final." And this was 2010. I had no idea what the Open Cup was. I'd never been to a Sounders game. I had no clue what I was signing up for. But I said, yeah, sure, absolutely. So Wyatt bought me a ticket, and we went. And it was the 2010 US Open Cup final against the Columbus Crew. And Senna Nyasi got that goal to start us out, and we were up 1-0. And I was into it. I was starting to get into it. I could understand why people were excited. Then Columbus equalized, and I thought, I might have this out of order, but so I got so excited that the game was on, and it was 1-1. And then Nyasi slotted through the winner in the 66th minute, and that I won't mix up. That I won't forget, because the whole stadium exploded, and from that second on, I was absolutely hooked. And we went on to win the game and win the Open Cup. I still had no idea what the Open Cup was. It didn't really matter. I had a great time. We all had a great time. And afterward, we all went out actually to this bar, to Temple, and Wyatt bought us all drinks on top of paying for all of our tickets. I didn't know any of this at the time, but Wyatt had just gotten back. He'd been serving in the Helmand province of Afghanistan, and he had gotten shot through the foot. There's an ambush, and about 50 insurgents popped up in this building, and they started shooting all of the coalition forces there at the time. And Wyatt, being a medic, started running in and pulling out individuals, pulling out Afghani officers, pulling out other Green Berets that were there on the mission. And he got shot clean through the foot, and his commanding officer looked at him and said, "Goldsmith, you've been injured. We called in a chopper. You need to get on that chopper and get out of here." And he said, "No, sir, I'll just tighten up my laces." And he did, and he went back in and he started pulling out more guys. And for that, he was awarded the Silver Star and a Purple Heart. Again, I knew none of this until after he was killed the next year, because he was just that humble of a guy. But it was because Wyatt decided to bring along me to a Sounders game that I became a fan. Sounders games are fantastic. The atmosphere is so wonderful, and everybody there is so positive. Even when we're negative, we're positive. even when we're down on the team, and oh man, did you see that thing that Nagel just missed on, or whoever? Everybody's still up on their team, and it feels like a family. And I think that's why Wyatt was so into it, is because Wyatt was the kind of guy that would make friends from all kinds of different backgrounds, and he would just bring in people that he liked. He like me, you know, he barely knew me, but he said, "I'm going to buy you a ticket to this game. You can come along." And it didn't matter if you were liberal or conservative, or you know, a CEO or broke or whatever. Everybody's rooting for the same thing on the field, and it was just that awesome positive atmosphere that I think really resonated with him, and that's what resonated with me. That I got there and everybody, it didn't even matter if they're fans of the opposing team, everybody was just so nice and having such a good time. So when I finally got a decent job and was able to buy season tickets myself, I got two. Because I wanted to be sure that I could bring somebody to the game. And since then, almost every game I've got somebody different sitting next to me in the seat, and it's just so much fun to share that experience, and it's a blast. You know, one of the things that the Sounders have been really, really good at is being involved on social media and through Twitter, and I think that's how we all connect. That's how I'm connected to this. That's how I heard about it. But also Twitter has been a really interesting connection to other people as well. A couple years back, Hercules Gomez sent out a tweet saying, "Hey, I need some help with a website." And I thought, well, I make websites. I could probably help out Hercules. And so I sent him a tweet, and he said, "Great." And then he contacted me, and then I helped him set up just like a stupid basic WordPress site that looks terrible now that I think about it, but it's there. And ever since, I chat with him whenever he comes to Seattle, he sends me some kind of mean tweet. And he's a total jerk, but he's also the nicest guy. And it's just, I don't know how that totally relates to the Sounders at all. But it's really, really cool that we've got Twitter as a platform, and we've got the team engaged and the players engaged, not just opposing players like Hercules. Come back to Seattle, you bastard. But our team, all of our players are on Twitter and engaged, and it's really cool that we get to be so connected. That's about it.